Chapter 35. For those not in the Discord. Hi guys, I wanted to let you all know a few important things. Unfortunately, I have to be honest. As of this moment, I will be going on a hiatus. As you all know, I'm in the military and for the foreseeable future, I am going to be extremely busy. So much so that I simply won't have the time to work on Legion. I will be intermittently active on Discord and I'll work with Bio so that we can squeeze out a few DLCs and some one-shots. But it's probably going to be a while for any new Legion chapters to come out. More than likely months. It's why we pushed through these last few arcs so that we didn't end on a cliffhanger. I want to thank you all for your support. Ever since Legion came out almost 2 years ago, you guys have been the driving force for my writing and artwork. I do promise, however, that I will not abandon Legion, nor will I abandon you. I'm here until the end of the line. Koyasia. Chapter 36. Announcement and future scenes. Please read. Hello everyone. So, to clarify, I guess I'm in a semi-hiatus? Obviously, it'll take a lot longer to write Legion chapters, but based on my estimates, it shouldn't be more than a few weeks to a few months between each chapter, and during this time, I'll still do DLCs and one-shots. I guess to summarize, I'm just not working on Legion as frequently due to my increased work schedule, but you can still expect updates, very infrequently. Anyway, as thanks though, here are some future scenes for the different arcs that are coming up, both canon and origins. Some of the arcs are actually combined. Up to you guys to guess which ones though, as I've separated them to remove hints and possibilities of spoilers. License exams, super moves. The two flowed in unison, their movements slowly synchronizing. Unknown to them, some of the others in the training area paused as their attention was caught by the duo. Even Aizawa, who would normally scold them for being distracted, was interested by the spectacle. It seemed like they were dancing in unison, and it also appeared that they were subconsciously using their quirks in unison as well. Lightning began to spark from Denki's fingers, and their air began to fill with static. Kyoka's heart began to beat, the dulcet tones surging through her, and they could feel the thrumming beneath their feet. It was very beautiful, seeing the two souls work together with such synergy. Almost subconsciously, they decided on the same target, the same wall that Denki had hit earlier. Finally, they moved into the last repetition of the kata. One foot back, the other forward. Their respective fingers trailed a circle in front of each other, Lightning wreathing his hand, and hers was visually distorted from the sound waves traveling in her hand. Their respective offhands briefly showed the same before they pushed out, hands splayed in opposite directions. It was beautiful. Denki's golden lightning and Kyoka's pulsing sound waves. Their fingers were not strictly parallel with each other, which meant that their attacks met in the middle first. Denki's lightning went from a vibrant gold to a brilliant blue, the same energy rippling as it traced Kyoka's sound waves. A small bubble of energy erupted at the nexus before the energy pulsed forward. Electric blue and white streaking through the air and striking the target first. It sheared a hole straight through, the surrounding concrete melting from the intense heat. A mere heartbeat later, the sound waves caught up, delivering an energized payload that obliterated the rest of the wall, practically turning it into dust. It was then that the noise hit them all. Crackboom! The silence that followed the roar was deafening. Provisional license exam. This time we won't fail. Prepare to be crushed, you.A. A student called out, and Ochako grimaced alongside the others as they began to be surrounded. As she suspected, they were being ambushed. Everyone was still together, barring Bakugo and Kirishima, who had followed after the other boy when he went rogue. Not that she really cared at this moment, not when she had other people she needed to worry about. "Form up!" she roared, and her classmates rounded up, ready to defend themselves. "Shoto." "Right," he replied as he stomped his foot, ice covering their feet and spreading out in a perfect circle before it erupted into a dome. Already they could hear impact striking against it from the enemy students, but for now it would hold. "Got a plan, Uravity? Stick together. If we're separated, they can pick us off one by one. If we are separated, try and stay with someone," she ordered before turning to Momo. "Murdala, we're gonna need some fireworks, as bright as you can make them." "Right," she said as she began to create.
"Now where?"
"Nahatic, we'll need you guys too." "Right," Yuga replied as Toru slid next to him, his power humming beneath his mirrors. The ice walls beginning to crack. Everyone stand fast. We stand together. Ochako cried out as she grabbed Melissa's most recent gift. Hshm. A bright green blade emanated from her own handle as she took a defensive pose, removing her own gravity, yet remaining anchored thanks to her armor. Oya. Oya. Izuku vs. Katsuki Round 3? And no, it's not going to be in the same area. What is one for all? Tell me. Bakugo screamed as he unleashed an explosion at him. It is nothing that concerns you. Izuku snarled as he flicked, the explosion dispersing into smoke and ashes before he burst through and grabbed Bakugo's face. You were never even supposed to hear about it. He then slammed him into the building, before their surroundings shifted again, the environment warping around them as they appeared on the side of a skyscraper instead. The two began to fall, but Bakugo managed to recover and launched himself upwards to gain height so that he could howitzer impact his foe. Hearing an enraged roar, he looked down to see Deku crawling up the building like an animal, powerful leaps closing the distance. He wasn't even bothering to use his flying power. He swore that he could see black claws forming on Deku's hands and feet, and he couldn't shake off the terror of seeing Izuku's eyes burning yellow. Those were Hisashi's eyes. You goddamned hypocrite. You always told me to stay out of your business, and yet you stick your nose in mine. The greenet roared as he leaped up with the black claws before swiping at him. You always thought you were privileged to everything. Bakugo launched 2 explosions, but Izuku burst through them, clawing through the concrete and slamming into Bakugo with his hand. The two floated in the air for a moment before he launched his tow cable and slammed Bakugo against the wall. And yet here we are. All these years. Izuku snarled as he slammed Bakugo against the concrete again. And we find our positions reversed. I can see why you liked attacking us so often, Bakugo. Bakugo panted as he remained fixed on Deku's expression. To see someone weaker than you with fear in their eyes, it's intoxicating, Deku said with a savage grin. Bakugo screamed in fury. Night Eye. Mandalore stood before Sir Night Eye. Although All Might had warned him of what was to come, he needed this internship. There was too much at stake otherwise. Sir Night Eye, Mandalore greeted, the empty glass reflecting Night Eye's face. Mandalore, Night Eye coldly greeted in return. The two remained like that for a moment, Lemillion nervously scratching the back of his head as he thought of a way to break the ice. I already know what you want, Sir Night Eye, Mandalore began as he raised his hands and took off his helmet before setting it down on the table. Clunk. So, he continued, as he took off his handguard and removed a glove. Let's get this over with already. Night Eye stared at the offered hand, before looking up and seeing Mandalore's eyes boring into his own. Tashinori told you then. It was not a question, merely a statement of fact. He did. You had the advantage then, could have remained in your full armor. Why give it up? Night Eye queried. Because I have too much to lose, Izuku solemnly replied, his mostly green eyes flickering even more yellow, a testament to the constant rage he was feeling due to what had occurred only days prior. And I cannot lose any more time. Night Eye blinked before taking his hand and staring into his eyes. He seized. Mandalore rising against a beast of metal and flesh, an abomination of abominations, lightning blotting out the sun as blue hellfire rains down from the heavens. A warrior and a dragon, fire and lightning clashing as many waters fell around them. Armies, fighting to the death led by their champions to the bitter end. Then the vision split. Mandalore, marching with his armies in the streets, the people cheering for him, clones showing off drill formations and spinning their rifles to the amusement of the crowd. Mandalore, marching up the steps of a building, a body sorrowfully carried in his arms, as his armies marched up with him, guns at the ready, the menacing footsteps echoing across the city, his eyes forever yellow. Step, 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 step. Mandalore and Lemillion fighting alongside slash against each other. Blue and black dancing under the rain slash enshrouded by fire and lava. Green slash golden eyes staring straight into Night Eye's soul. A few moments later he collapsed over his table, much to the shock of those in the room as they saw a frazzled, Night-Eye panting in exhaustion, blood dripping down his nose, and he stepped away from those trying to help him back to his feet. He stared at Mandalore in a mix of confusion and fear. He had never had a split vision before, and that terrified him. Overhaul arc. I have seen the future, and it was clear as day, Night-Eye said as he laid against Uravity, the latter desperately holding the pressure to keep him alive. Lightning surged through a being that fought a techno-organic abomination. Mandalore will rise against Overhaul, a man kneeling in defeat, his clothes tattered as the warrior held two blades up to his neck. He will execute him. No blood hit the ground as a charred corpse collapsed, Mandalore's eyes burning gold and red. And Mandalore will fall. Culture Festival. So, I was thinking, since we're doing the Culture Festival, what if we do like a parade? A parade? Yeah, like one of those old-school military parades. We could use those dress uniforms that the business course commissioned for us. Yes, please. The group of friends turned to a now flushing Magenta Mina. Did I say that out loud? Gentle Criminal. I see now, Mandalore muttered as he clashed against Gentle Criminal, the air displacement between them actually impressive. The fire that roars within you is not only due to love, powered by Minami's quirk, but also by your love for her. A symbiotic quirk relationship, desperately fueling your struggle so that you can reach your goal. Power flared as Izuku ramped up his quirk, energy surging as he began to overpower Gentle Criminal. But it's not enough. Gentle's arm cracked and he screamed, pushed back by the unrelenting force. Naboo Island. Izuku stood on the mountaintop with his friends, looking over the island they were meant to protect. It may have been training, and admittedly a little dull, but he enjoyed the peace and quiet which was such a rarity nowadays. It is good here. He hoped the peace would last. Blood Ties, original arc. Well then, it has been a while, hasn't it? Izuku stiffened. No matter how many years it had been, he'd remember that voice anywhere. He could feel his blood boiling as he turned to glare at the grinning man now in front of him. Hisashi.
Hello, son. Hiro-kun, original.
And today, we welcome the retired All Might and his protege, Mandalore, to this year's HeroCon. We're so thankful that they came all the way from Japan. Toshinori and Izuku waved from the panel seats as fans cheered for them. All Might had become an international icon thanks to his work in America and his partnerships throughout the years, and many were eager to see how Mandalore would live up to his legacy. Izanagi, original? Ah, so the great Mandalore faces me, Izanagi declared as he floated in the air, his ornate, purple mask hiding his visage. But our time is not yet to be. Allow me to instead introduce you to my children. 3 figures crashed into the ground, surrounding Mandalore. Behold Amaterasu, Susanoo, and Tsukuyami.
Va.
My brothers, the League of Villains, the MLA, and all the foes who have stood against us, now stand together. A weary, yet emboldened Mandalore said as he walked down the platform. Before him stood all the companies, the entirety of VOD legions, and behind him, his friends and family. But today, we will show them that the VOD will not go gently into the good night. Instead, we shall rise once more to defend our freedom, our lives, our families, our futures. His armor glistened in the sunlight, cape flaring as he addressed his brethren and galvanized them. Today, we honor those lost, and we protect those who cannot protect themselves. Today, we fight to rid our country of the dark shadow of villainy. He ignited the darksaber and raised it proudly. Today will be our finest hour. Oya, 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 Oya.
Va.
Itsuka roared in fury as she finally snapped, charging forward to end the girl in front of her. Her fist expanded, destroying the armor and taking up her entire vision as she punched forward, slamming into Toga and crushing her into a wall. Itsuka panted heavily before her eyes widened in shock and fear as she heard laughter before her fist began to shake and tremble before being moved to the side by a grinning and only slightly bruised Toga. Hee. My turn now, my dear Itsuka. The returning strike shattered Itsuka's chest plate and sent her across the room. Don't have a name for this arc yet, original? The two impacted brutally into a courthouse, debris crashing all around them. "Rah!" His enemy screamed, and Mandalore grimaced as they struggled before finally putting him into a headlock. Many civilians trying to evacuate the area. Their cries grabbed the attention of his enemy, who focused on a family backed into a corner. "If you love these people so much," he choked out, insanity consuming him, "then you can mourn for them." Red filled the courtyard as lasers erupted from the enemy's eyes, slowly making its way towards the now panicking family. "Don't do this," Izuku begged, desperately trying to get his foe to see reason as he held him back, praying that reinforcements would come in time even as he used one for all to his fullest extent possible. The father of the family grabbed onto his son, bringing them closer towards the corner, the mother and daughter clutching each other tightly before they all came closer. "Help us." New. He hears them cry out, the family huddling further and further, yet they could not escape. "Stop!" Mandalore screamed as he held onto his head, slowly losing the battle to save the family from burning fire. "Never. Villains. So, why are you here, Shigaraki Tamura?" Redestro asked, the courtyard tense from the battle that had just occurred. Although he'd lost some of his forces in the initial altercation, Shigaraki had proven himself surprisingly merciful. This was not what he expected. "The same reason that you even decided to meet with me, Redestro," he replied as he gestured and a hologram appeared in his hand from a projector. "People of Japan, I, Mandalore, do declare that we, the VOD, will do everything in our power to bring these terrorists, Shigaraki noticed Redestro bristling at the term, "to justice. We shall ensure the safety and security of the good people of Japan. Shigaraki ended the recording. His point had been made. "And what is your point?" Redestro asked, seething. Trumpet's plan had admittedly backfired, and thanks to that clone, he'd make sure to break this supposed Captain Fox with his bare hands, who was always next to Ryo Chuchi. The MLA had taken a serious blow, and Mandalore had the audacity to call them terrorists. Mandalore has been a thorn in our side since the USJ. He defeated Stain at Hosu, faced General Grievous in combat, helped All Might defeat my master, struck down Izanagi and his children, and most recently, uprooted your control at the Diet. Redestro grimaced. "To the point, then." "Less of a point, more of a proposal," Shigaraki stated. "I have been working in recruiting those actively being hunted by Mandalore. Kirojiri might be imprisoned, but we have other means of escape available to us. But Mandalore has even more numbers than before: vehicles, armaments, supply lines, and increasing public support. Hell, he even has America's support after helping them with that hurricane and then Izanagi," Shigaraki finished. "And right now, he's over there again, dealing with another issue. Though I don't think that the murder charges will stick," Redestro bitterly said. "If only they were so lucky. Whoever planted those charges is an amateur, combined with the fact that Mandalore surrendered himself and passed on leadership of the VOD for the time of the investigation has only cemented public perception of his innocence," Curious said from the sidelines. Shigaraki silently chuckled at the scars that now marred her pretty face. If he wasn't mistaken, that was a present from her own cousin. So more than likely, they'll find out what happened and he'll get released. And after they deal with whoever framed him, he'll come back home, Shigaraki continued explaining. "That means, however, that for now, we have a little time to prepare a welcome home present. And you wish to ally yourselves with us? Not just you. Our biggest challenge is that no hero has so single-handedly united so many heroes under his banner. All Might was the symbol of peace, but he fought alone. He couldn't be everywhere at once. But Mandalore can, thanks to his allies," Redestro said, drawing the conclusion that Shigaraki was leading to. "I'm sure you've heard the rumors. The title they're giving them. Mandalorians. The Friends of Mandalore," Redestro said with some scorn, though it did nothing to remove the fear from his heart. "Children too, if the rumors are to be believed. He's been quite the influence on the next generation." Redestro grimaced again, the unspoken truth being that he was such an influence that recruitment was going down. More heroes, clones, and even Mandalore himself had been visiting schools and doing presentations. Mandalore was such a bleeding heart, visiting schools, hospitals, refugee centers, that it was almost sickening. When did have time to do all this? But he couldn't deny the effectiveness of such tactics. If only they had managed to sway him to their side. But it was too late, and Mandalore was their enemy. An enemy that they could not take on alone. So then, what do you propose we do if we accept this alliance? Try and kill him as soon as he gets home? No, that would make him a martyr, and we can't guarantee that his clones die if he does. They're too unique. Sorry, Twice, it's true. Twice grumbled from the sidelines. But we can keep him reacting, keep him frayed, and make him remember that he can't protect everyone. Shigaraki continued, a sadistic grin adorning his face as he recalled Mandalore's hateful expression from so long ago. To defeat our shared enemy, we must break him first. And, do you have a name for this alliance? Names, after all, do have meaning? Redestro commented. Shigaraki thought it frivolous, but then again, his master had taken on the name of All for One and used it to strike fear into the hearts of many for centuries. And Mandalore was quickly becoming the symbol of hope that he wanted to be. So fine, he joined the game. We are those separated by society, whether by choice or not, and now we stand as allies. So let today mark itself as a day of infamy. The birth of the Separatist Alliance. Future? When we formed the Mandoade, we took an oath, the woman said as she marched down the rows of Mandalorians. According to our station, all without exception, they stated, the smooth hum of the transport taking them to their destination slightly echoing. On the blood of our Biri, on the blood of our Ade, she continued, we swore to uphold the Risolnair, even to our dying breath. Those who would break this oath are Darmanda, worthy of neither pity nor mercy. Even now, they use our Mandalore's creations to propagate their carnage. We shall grind them into dust and continue our march to Marisi Manda, she roared, fist in the sky as they slammed their armor in unison. Author. Cool. So, now you all have an idea of what's coming up in the future. Again, it shouldn't take a super long time between chapters, but definitely longer than you guys might be used to. During this time, however, keep an eye out for DLCs, one-shots, and even drawings.